This is part 17 of Breath of the Wild, and in this part we're going to continue exploring the area right here around the Dueling Peaks. We're going to pick up the Soldier's Shield, and as usual we're going to stop and make a few elixirs along the way.
Sorry, I thought you were kind of going to lead me in with something, give me like
No,
a
I got
little
nothing else to say.
transition or something like that, and you basically just, what we're going to do, and then I'm going to stop, but you know what? I
Pretty
also
much.
do that to you quite a bit, so I'm not going to really
I'll
get
let you
too
take it from there.
too upset, but right there, like that big explosion, like, yes, we're guys, so like things like that are cool to us, but
Yep.
I kind of talked about it a few parts ago. Being as that the bombs are different in this game and we don't get that fiery explosion, it's still nice to have places in the game where we do get it.
And especially this early on in the game where you saw 2 or 3 parts ago where like a small mob of enemies actually made me like retreat and use a ton of my elixirs and food and things like that. Being able to use those explosive barrels to take out or at least weaken most of that little horde of enemies is just
Definitely.
such a valuable tool to have. And there are a lot of ways to do damage to like multiple like grouped together enemies like this, whether it's, you know, the magnetic crates and barrels.
Yes.
Fire barrels, boulders you can roll down the hill. It's nice that they give us so many options to weaken up a group before we go in and confront them.
Now you've seen this a little bit with Red. I really don't have this problem when I play because I don't stop by like a lot of Moblin or Bokoblin camps. But like you can see Red, he does take the time to kill all these enemies. Now
Yep.
one thing that does kind of stink about this game is sometimes in the treasure chest the item is not that valuable. Up to this point it has been.
Yeah.
But later on in the game, we'll get to the point where it's maybe not that valuable, but for all the work you put in, you kind of feel like you had to take that item.
You really do. And like you said, thankfully in this case, like the Soldier's Shield is one of the best shields we've gotten in the
Yes.
game so far, just the way that we've played it. So I think its protection is only 16. You know, later on in the game, you get things like 50 and 60 protection.
And
But
90.
for now, the Soldier's Shield was a great little find. But you're right. Later on, you have to make some tough decisions where it's like you worked hard to get an item, you want to keep it, even if it's a lesser item.
Now, one thing that we did say that was great about getting out the Great Plateau is that, yeah, you could go basically any direction that you wanted to go. You could
Yeah.
even go fight Ganon if you wanted to. But as you can see right here as we're playing along, they're still trying to guide us, like, you know, in a little bit of a direction. And that
Yeah.
direction is Kakariko Village. So we kind of be on this river for a long time. So, yeah, we can go anywhere we want to. We're still getting guided. But one thing that's awesome about Breath of the Wild is that as soon as you got the Great Plateau, you could go left and do anything you want to and just... I don't know if you could avoid all this and talk at the Impa, but for some
I think
reason
you
I
can.
want to think you can.
I think you can. I'm not sure if you'd be able to do like any of, you know, the dungeons or things like that. But yeah,
Yeah.
you can literally just go straight to Ganon if you wanted to. I mean, I don't necessarily recommend it.
Definitely do not recommend that.
But you know, here, because they expect, I think, most people the first time they play the game to kind of follow this path from the beginning to go to Kakariko Village. So they do load it up with, you know, a bunch of enemy camps to kind of give you a chance to work around with the combat mechanics.
Yes.
And also to load up on your weapons and your shields and your inventory and things like that this early on in the game. So it's kind of nice that you get all that stuff early on if you come this way, but it does make this opening sequence, you know, as we make our way towards Kakariko Village, it does make it drag a little bit.
And even though we've been kind of in this area a long time, like, you know, the river, I can't remember if I said it in the last part or not, but just kind of walking along this river, this is just a beautiful river.
It is.
Very scenic, as the whole game really is. And just
Yeah.
like, I mean, you're going to hear us talk about it and talk about it. Just like every area is obviously different in its own way, but at the same time, it'll add beauty in its own different way.
Now, one thing I didn't do here that a lot of people probably did, when you're looking at the right side of the Dueling Peaks right there, you can kind of see there's a path winding its way all the way up the Dueling Peaks. And I think I remember seeing that and just telling myself, yeah, okay, I'll climb that at some point. And I'm pretty sure to this day I still have not climbed up to the top to get up there.
And I know it's up
funny
there.
because you can see it, and I'm sure a lot of people have, like just because you can see it right there. But I, for some reason, just didn't do it.
I can tell you right now, I have been up there, and it is very valuable to go up there. Now,
Yeah.
one thing that is not valuable in this game is these stupid Octorocks.
Oh
And
my
I tell you
gosh.
what, I hated these throughout the entire game. Like,
Me too.
first of all, I don't understand when you're shooting something out of your mouth how your aim is that good. Like, it's
Oh,
impossible.
they're deadly accurate.
Yeah, and like every time I'm like going somewhere running or something, those things nail me, and just there's no way they're that good.
They really shouldn't be, but and there's one trick that I've learned with the ones that pop up out of the solid ground at least. If you run up and you cut that little shrub that's coming out of their head, they will pop out of the ground.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And I didn't either for the longest time. So you saw me sit there and get shot time and time again while I was trying to line up a shot with my bow, and it was just very frustrating. But yeah, little did I know, and I figured out way later in the game, that you can just run right up and chop that little shrub and just attack them with your sword. So, the things you learn the longer you play.
Yeah, they're like, and there's going to be something in this game that, like, one individual learns, but the other didn't, because, like
Absolutely.
I said, I've been the game, or I believe I said that. I didn't know through the entire game that you could actually hit those shrubs or off of the Octo Rock to get them to come up.
It's
but
handy.
Like, to me, they're just bullies, because you'll see here in a little while in this part, we'll get in the water. We're
Oh my
basically
God.
pretty much defenseless, and
We
those
are.
things will just shoot the crap out of us.
Now, you'll see a lot during this game that if I see a little wooded area or a forest like this, I will run around in it for a minute, because these little forests are a great place to load up on ingredients for your food and your
Agreed.
elixirs. This early on in the game, of course, the Hyrule mushrooms, apples you saw on the trees, and the stamina shrooms are the common ones we get. Later on in the game, though, we get ones that'll like either increase the number of hearts we have temporarily. They'll give us defense boosts or attack power boosts. So I love running through the forested areas, because I feel like there's just so many items you can load up on in the forested areas. It's just like going out and exploring in a real
Yep.
forest.
Like, your interests were definitely different than mine, because I saw that tower. I was like, ooh, I gotta go climb that tower and like see
Yep.
like the views from that side of the map. And we'll see here. I believe it's in the next part. We'll see what the towers actually do. Actually, we've already kind of seen.
We saw the
unlock
one on the
that-
Great Plateau,
Yeah,
yeah.
they unlocked that region of the map. But me, as soon as I saw a tower, and like I said, that's the first thing I did, was go up to all these towers and kind of just like figure out the puzzles
Yep.
and just like check out the views. So what you're doing right here, and I know everybody plays different, I would never had the patience to do this when I have a sweet tower like that in the background the whole time.
And that's the thing, like I see stuff like that and I'll start making my way towards it, but then I just get distracted by everything. If I see
Yeah.
something moving or something like blinking in the distance that you can pick up, I'm going to go explore it. It's just the way I am. Sometimes I will buckle down and just make my way straight to a tower a little later in the game. And the towers are so useful. Like you said, they do fill in a huge chunk of the map about where you are. So they do serve a great purpose. So I do highly recommend going straight to them.
Now, I really didn't get that distracted in this game with things like you kind of talked about.
Yeah.
But, like, if you take a game like Halo, like, I get distracted by, like, grenades. And, like, as soon as I see one go by me, like, I had to go check it out.
You're like a
and
cat,
see what's, yeah. I'm sure read, like, there's kind of a funny backstory behind that anyways.
Definitely.
But, finally, here's where kind of like the stamina you'll see kind of starts to stink.
Yes.
And Red will actually use a good strategy for getting across this. But like swimming like across this water right here, and as low as our stamina bar is, like it does make it very difficult early on in the game.
Especially when we've got this idiot shooting at us. You know, you mentioned it before how helpless we
Yeah.
are when we're swimming. But you've talked about in previous parts, like you liked to go for the stamina upgrades a little early on just to make it easier to swim across these rivers and also to climb.
Definitely
So
to
getting
climb.
that boosted stamina bar is very important. I went the opposite route, as you'll see a little later in the game. I kind of went more heart heavy, which also has its own benefits, of course.
Oh,
but
definitely.
just trying to get across these rivers with the low stamina, fighting against the current sometimes, it is a struggle.
Well, the one awesome thing about this game is we kind of talked about in the last part, there's a bunch of different ways to do something, solve puzzles,
Absolutely.
whatever, and there's also different ways to get across this river right here. You can increase your stamina bar, or you can also eat elixirs to increase it, but anyways, this will go ahead and wrap up part 17 of our Let's Play series for Breath of the Wild.